Howdy folks, and welcome back to Casual Saturday with the mighty Jingles. Today we're taking a look at an early access game available on Steam called Sky Knights. It's the labour of love of a lone developer who goes by the name of Hampus Bankler. Hampus spent some time working in the Swedish Air Force as a jet mechanic, and his love for jet aircraft really shines through in this little game. So, what is Sky Knights and why should you be interested? It's actually very difficult to explain. It's a sort of top-down jet fighting, jet bombing simulator arcade. Yeah, it's a hell of a lot easier just to show you. It's also as close as he could possibly make it to Top Gun without getting his ass sued off by Paramount Studios. Yeah, it's really close to being a Top Gun clone. Well, anyway, we're going to go through the basics and show you exactly how this all works. I do have to say it's remarkably well polished for an early access game. It even has a tutorial which is simple enough that even a dumbass like me can figure out how it all works and be up and running within 5 minutes. You can play using gamepad or keyboard. I play on the keyboard and it's 100% controllable. You're not going to be at a disadvantage if you're playing against people with gamepads. The mouse and keyboard controls are pretty basic. They're exactly what you'd expect. It's WASD all over again. W and S to control your throttle up or down, and A or D to turn the aircraft left or right. There's also an afterburner which you can activate by holding down Shift, although there is limited fuel available for it. Next, how do you blow stuff up? Well, we're going to engage some enemy armour that's rolling in towards one of our forward operating bases, and we're going to do that first with our guns.
There you go. Now attack the other 3 vehicles. Keep it steady and fly slow. Good shot. 2 more left. Remember to take some distance and then turn around for a better approach.
It's not exactly rocket science, is it? Just line up on the target and let it rip with the cannon.
Great shot again. That'll teach them. Only 1 more vehicle remains.
It gets a lot more complicated when there are enemy jets on your tail trying to shoot you down, but more on that later.
Good job. Time for a retaliation strike. Switch to your enemy FOB. When the bomb reticule is on a target, press the secondary fire button twice to drop both your bombs.
Now, because you do the training scenario with an F-16 fighting Falcon, you also have a couple of bombs mounted on the wings, but you only have 2 of them. There is limited ammunition in this game, so we're going to drop these bombs off, and then we're going to have to go for a resupply.
Good hit. The FOB will require 2 more bombs to be destroyed. Return to the runway to rearm.
Wait, what? I have to do a landing?
We need some distance to the runway in order to make a safe landing. Follow the green line to the initial point.
Anybody who's watched any of my War Thunder videos knows what my landings are like. I mean, other people even refer to my landings. They become, well, they're not really landings, are they? They're more controlled crashes.
Drop down until power reaches 0% to slow down. Follow the indicated flight path at minimum speed. Landings can be hard, so stay focused.
Luckily for me, the landings in Sky Knights are just a little bit more forgiving than they are in a game like War Thunder.
Carefully align your aircraft with landing lights and runway. Don't overcompensate. Get ready to descend.
It's just a simple case of throttling down and following the indicated flight marker. Although it is still possible to miss the runway and have to go around and do it again.
Press throttle down again to land. Keep yourself aligned. Touchdown. Wait until you come to a complete stop. The aircraft will automatically roll backwards if needed for the next takeoff. Great landing. We are now reloaded, carrying 2 new bombs and 120 rounds of gun ammo. We also got 2 heat-seeking missiles, just in case.
See that?
Take
Great
off
landing. You heard it here first. Right, let's finish off that forward operating base, and then he's given me a pair of heat seekers, so I suspect we might have some air-to-air combat coming up very, very soon. In fact, it's coming up a little bit sooner than I thought.
The enemy has scrambled 2 MiG-29 Fulcrum fighters. Engage them. Use your afterburner to catch up if they flee. Switch to missiles. Get behind the bandits. Solid tone means the missile is locked. Secondary fire button launches the missile.
Heat Seekers are the second type of air-to-air weapon available in the game, the first obviously being the guns on your aircraft. Heat Seeker stands a much better chance of achieving a solid lock and getting a kill if you fire it from behind your target, so it can home in on their engine exhaust, although if you have sufficient range on a target you can still fire a Heat Seeker off and just hope it gets a lock and tracks them anyway, but they're obviously a lot more effective if you can get onto somebody's tail. Right then. And we've got time.
Class 1. Nice job. Now take out the other MiG. Don't forget to use your gun if you're out of missiles. Out of heat seekers. Move in close and kill them with the gun instead.
Yeah, it took two sidewinders to take that first MiG-29 out, so I'm going to have to close in and finish the second one off with my guns. Now, I have a bit of a Jingles moment here as I'm furiously tapping the F key to cycle through my weapons and wondering why can't I select my guns. But your guns are always fired by pressing the left mouse button, and you only type F to cycle through the secondary weapons like bombs, heat seekers and semi-active radar homing missiles, which we'll see later, which are fired using the right mouse button. So left mouse button always fires your guns.
You got some talent there. Time to finish off the enemy FOB. Select your bombs and head east.
Right, so now I can tap the F key to select my bombs. Two more bombs on the FOB should finish it off, and that should be the tutorial complete.
Mission complete. Good job. You are now ready to take on real missions.
Well, I don't know about that, it is me after all. But at least now I have no excuses for not knowing what to do in a real mission. Those are the basics of Skynight. The controls are very simple. You can either play with a gamepad or mouse and keyboard, WASD to control your aircraft, Shift to control your afterburner, and F to cycle through your secondary weapons. Simple as that. Later on, you're going to unlock decoys like chaff and flares, but for the moment that's really all you need to worry about. It is pretty basic, and that's good because it means you spend no time worrying about where the correct keys and buttons are, and more time worrying about how to get that bandit off your 6. And you will be spending a lot of time worrying how to get that bandit off your 6, because this is a multiplayer game. And it's not just the F-16 Fighting Falcon that you can play. There's also the A-10 Thunderbolt, which is absolutely lethal to any target on the ground but can only deal with air targets by using its cannons, and the F-15A Eagle, which is a pure fighter aircraft, although it can deal with ground targets but only has guns to do it. The enemy team consists of the MiG-29 Fulcrum, which is kind of the equivalent of the F-16. It can attack ground targets with bombs, it can take out air targets with heat seekers. Or the Su-25 Frogfoot, the equivalent of the A-10 Thunderbolt, which is great at going after ground targets but is very limited in going after air targets. And finally the Su-27 Flanker, which is, like the F-15 Eagle, lethal against air targets but very limited capability when it comes to dealing with targets on the ground. So those are the tools at your disposal, and now we're going to put it all together and show you how it works in practice. The game recommends that you start off by playing a skirmish match against the AI, although there's nothing to stop you from jumping straight into multiplayer if that's exactly what you want to do. The bots are actually pretty nasty. The core of the gameplay is a basic 4 versus 4 top-down aerial dogfight. You have unlimited lives, although the more you get shot down, the longer you have to wait to respawn. And you win a match by knocking out all 3 of the enemy's forward operating bases, although obviously the enemy team are trying to knock out yours at the same time, while simultaneously preventing you from knocking out theirs. Oh, and did I mention that there are also ground units? And the ground units also have lots of anti-aircraft guns. This is why it can be a very good idea to have at least somebody in your team rolling out in a ground attack aircraft like the A-10 Thunderbolt or the Su-25 Frogfoot. But the rest of the team are going to have to protect them, because their only defense against enemy fighters and interceptors are their cannon, and they have a limited amount of ammunition for that. And yes, that AAA is very nasty, unless you have somebody in your team in an A-10 or an Su-25 actively suppressing them. We'll come on to the ground attack aircraft in a moment. But now we're going to jump into an F-15A. Now the F-15A is a dedicated fighter. It's really only good for air-to-air combat. Unlike the F-15E Strike Eagle, which was a multi-role fighter like the F-16 Fighting Falcon. Here in Sky Knights, as well as the Heat Seekers, the F-15 has semi-active radar homing missiles. Now these can be fired from the front, but you do have to keep the target illuminated by the radar in order to maintain the lock. And oh, well, I missed the one I was aiming at, but it took out another one. The F-15 is all about the air-to-air loadout. It's got 2 Sidewinders and 2 semi-active radar homing missiles. It has no ground attack weapons other than its gun. And it only carries 150 rounds of ammunition for the gun, so you're probably not going to be taking out one of those forward operating bases with that. For that, you're going to need the F-16, which can carry 2 bombs, or even better, the A-10 Thunderbolt, which can carry 2 bombs and a whole bunch of air-to-ground missiles. So when you find yourself on the tail of an enemy aircraft, what's the best weapon to use? Missiles are a lot less effort, but they can be decoyed by chaff or flares. Guns, not so much. Now, one other thing that you need to pay attention to. In the bottom right corner of the screen, just above the minimap, there's a number. It currently reads 866, and it keeps going up, keeps ticking up, 1 digit at a time, just by playing the game, and then it goes up dramatically when you do things like score hits or shoot down enemy aircraft or ground targets. These are credits that you earn while playing the game, and they're non-persistent. They don't carry over from one match to the next, so there's no point in saving them up and holding on to them. Spend them, or at the end of the match, you'll lose them. So what sort of things can you spend them on, and how can you buy things with them? Every time you get shot down, while you're sitting there waiting to respawn, you can access the shop. And if you have to rearm and you end up back on the landing strip while you're sitting on the landing strip, you can also access the shop. And the sort of things that you can buy affect your performance in the current match. Things like extra afterburner fuel, extra armour, and therefore more health for your aircraft. Yes, I did just outrun a missile there. Don't worry, I'm sure I'll get shot down soon, and we can actually show you the sort of thing that I'm talking about. Oh, and it's just occurred to me, there is one other control that I've forgotten to mention. And, well, the reason I've forgotten to mention it is that at the time I was recording this particular piece of gameplay, I wasn't even aware it existed. You're watching me basically get into a lot of turning dogfights here with a whole bunch of enemy aircraft, and that's costing me stamina, which is represented by the shrinking bar at the bottom of the screen. There we go, I've just been shot down. Okay, well, here we go. You can see I can spend 200 credits to upgrade the F-16, some armour plating to get it 25% extra hull, and I can spend another 400 credits to tune the engine, increasing my acceleration and maximum speed. And I still have nearly 700 credits to spare. Because I'm just a level 1 player, those are the only 2 of the 5 available upgrades in the shop that I can actually put on my aircraft. But at the end of this match, as I'm sitting here waiting to respawn, because I got shot down yet again, I'm just watching the bots slaughtering each other with the cinematic camera controls while I'm waiting to respawn. These bots are actually quite evil. I picked an A-10, this is the first time I've actually rolled out in a ground attack aircraft. It has no afterburner, unlike the F-16 or the F-15, and no air-to-air missiles. Unfortunately, it was round about now where we lost, because we had our last operating base destroyed. However, I did have enough experience to level up to rank 2, and that's now unlocked the external fuel tank upgrade, which increases the amount of afterburner fuel available on your aircraft. No use on the A-10 because it doesn't have an afterburner. But the next time I'm sitting on the runway with credits to burn and I'm in an F-16 or an F-15, I'll have a third upgrade option unlocked and available. Next up, I thought I'd try my luck against some real human opponents. Oh boy, this got intense. Now, you don't have to have a full team of 4 players on each side to start a multiplayer session. You can start your own game, and people can hot join the game as it's in progress. Both teams will be populated by bots until players join the match. This time, I'm flying the Russians, running out an Su-25 Frogfoot, which is the Russian ground attack aircraft. I'm sneaking around the northern end of the map to try to avoid the enemy fighters and using the Su-25's 2 air-to-ground missiles to take out some of the ground vehicles that are going for our first forward operating base. I'm going to switch to the bombs, and I'm going to attempt to make a bombing run on the enemy's forward operating base. Bombs away, 2 hits. It's going to take more than 2, however, and I've picked up an enemy fighter. It looks like an F-15, which means I'm in serious trouble, and the only thing I have to defend myself against him is my guns. And, yeah, I got taken out by a player. Oh well, fair enough. You see, the thing I like about Sky Knights is that the concept is very, very simple. 4 versus 4. 3 different types of aircraft available for both teams. One is very, very good at taking out other aircraft. One is very good at taking out ground targets. And one's a sort of jack of all trades. You don't win specifically by shooting down all of the enemy aircraft because they have unlimited respawns, but if you shoot them down often enough, their respawn timer is going to be so long that effectively you'll have control of the skies. A far more direct way of winning the game is knocking out the forward operating bases. Once a team loses all 3 of its bases, it's game over. But there's more than one way to skin a cat. Of course you can jump into a dedicated ground attack aircraft like the Su-25 here, or the A-10 for the American team, or the F-16, which also carries 2 bombs, or the MiG-29, which also carries 2 bombs. But there are an awful lot of ground vehicles in play as well, controlled by the AI for both teams, and those ground vehicles are attacking the forward operating bases. So if you don't suppress them, they're going to knock the bases out for you. So while the core gameplay variables aren't particularly complicated, and there aren't that many of them, they combine in a sort of exponential way to complicate the decision-making process in what aircraft you should be picking at any given time and what you should be doing with it. Now, I'm not trying to say that Sky Knights is a complicated game. It absolutely isn't. But you can get complexity out of simplicity. You can take a simple game, which Sky Knights is, add just a couple of variables, and the way those variables interact with each other can exponentially lead to complex gameplay. Now, when I say complex gameplay, I'm not talking about Hearts of Iron 4 here, right? This is an arcade shooter. But like World of Tanks, for example, which at its core is a very, very simple game. You have a tank, there are the enemy tanks, go and shoot them until there's only one team left. That's as complicated as the gameplay gets in World of Tanks. But there are variables: armor penetration, spotting mechanics, armor angling, use of terrain features, teamwork, the unpredictability and skill, or lack of, the human player. That's not a huge amount of variables, but when you put them all together, you can get some complex gameplay, and Sky Knights is, well, it's just like that. I'll be 100% honest with you here, I have never won a game of Sky Knights yet, but it's one of those games that I don't care if I win or lose because it's fun, regardless of the outcome of the match. Obviously it's better to win, because you earn more experience, and you level up faster. And leveling up unlocks things like traits, which at level 3, the first trait that you can equip on your pilot, so it's effective on every aircraft that you fly, is called Gunslinger, and does an extra 10% damage with your cannon. Then you have the various challenges. Complete a challenge, you earn golden wings. Golden wings can be used to open loot boxes. Loot boxes contain cosmetic upgrades such as tail and nose art for your aircraft. At the moment there's no way of buying golden wings to basically buy access to the loot boxes. The game hasn't actually been monetized, although I suspect that at some point in the future it probably will, depending on how successful the early access is. There are all kinds of things that the developer wants to get into the game for its full release. More polished graphics is pretty high on his hit list, but I really like the graphics the way they are. I think they suit the style of the game perfectly, and they keep the system overheads down as well. This is not a game that requires a powerful PC to run. The system requirements for the game are Windows 7, a 2GHz dual-core 64-bit processor, 4GB of RAM, 1GB of hard drive space, and any DirectX 10 compatible graphics card with 1GB of VRAM. Or in other words, any entry-level PC. It also won't break the bank. It's available on Steam for the dizzying price of £6.99, or whatever the equivalent that is in your local currency. It's still very early days for Sky Knights. It's only been available on Steam for just about a week by the time you see this video. And while there haven't been that many reviews on Steam of the game, they have all been positive so far. Oh, hang on a minute, Jingles moment. I've just remembered. I am so crap. About 10 minutes ago I was saying that there was one other control in the game, and I was going to show you what it was, and then got sidetracked by something. So, I don't know. It's a good job I don't do reviews of games on YouTube for a living, or I'd be in serious trouble because I'm terrible at it. Oh wait, I do. Oh crap. Anyway, the maneuver key. You activate the maneuver key by holding down the spacebar, and what it will do is if you hold it down for the entire duration of the maneuver, you'll do a loop-the-loop. If, on the other hand, you let go halfway through, you will instead perform an Immelman turn. And I'm about to demonstrate in the Su-27. Enemy aircraft on my tail, hold down the maneuver key, let go halfway through, pull an Immelman. Change position on him very, very quickly. I'm not getting a missile lock on him though. And this constant manoeuvring is eating away at my stamina bar, and he's just been joined by a second bandit. So afterburner, crap, AAA, maneuver key again, pull an Immelman, try to take him out with the guns. Very, very low on stamina. Just been joined by another bot. He's taken down one of the bad guys on my tail. Where did he go? There's still one of them. Reasonably close. Oh, there he is on the map. Yeah, he's on my 6. I'll turn back, dodged his missile, and pull that maneuver again. And take him out with the guns. I'm by no means any good at this. Oh crap. AAA again. No, it's going to get me. Oh, more AAA. Bugger off. Stop shooting at me. I have the Barrett. No, I'm done. Well, you get the general idea. You know, I don't have to be good at the game to show you how it works. That's my excuse and I'm sticking at it. Anyway, that's Sky Knights, independent game, now available on Steam. Early access for £6.99 or whatever the hell that is in your local currency. Coded almost entirely single-handedly by Hampus Bankler, ex-Swedish Air Force jet fighter mechanic. It's cheap, it's cheerful, it's easy to learn, and it's a lot of fun. And that is it for Casual Saturday. I hope you've enjoyed today's video. I hope you're having a great weekend. And as always, take care, and I'll catch you next time.